Welcome to Reward, the podcast of The Trust. We are the show specifically for women entrepreneurs who want to build businesses into the multi-million-dollar revenues and beyond, but especially because we know the reward is much greater than that. I'm Allie Brown, and I'm excited to introduce you to these diverse female leaders from a variety of industries, women making huge impact and who are unwilling to settle for the status quo. On the web, visit jointhetrust.org to learn more about our modern community for forward-thinking 7- and 8-figure women entrepreneurs. That's jointhetrust.org. See you there. Now, get ready to enjoy this episode's powerful conversation. Good morning. I'm recording this actually on a Sunday morning, which is unusual, but it was the perfect time for me to do this while I have some quiet time and before church and before I get the kids for the week. So I am really happy to do this. And I don't usually do my solo episodes on video, but today I really wanted to kind of feel like we were together. So this is a video episode. I have a lot of notes, so I'm going to be referring to those, but this topic, it's wild because probably about 10 years ago now is when I started talking about this. And now you see so much evidence of this happening all around us. It's like we're in this time warp and things are speeding up and speeding up and speeding up. And you see this on a macro level with the world. And then you see this on different layers of micro levels, all the way down to our clients and our customers and who we work with, to our business models, to marketing, to ourselves. There's so much acceleration right now that if you are still hanging on to an old identity, and this applies to personal too, but today we're just going to talk to business and your identity around your business, it's going to become pretty painful. So we're talking today about the exhaustion of holding on to that past identity. And, I love sharing, and I'm quite proud of that I was one of the first people talking about this 10 years ago. And there's benefits to that, and there's a downside to that, because sometimes people don't remember that you were talking about it. I'm always a little bit ahead of my time, which is a pro and a con. But back when I launched my first iconic event in 2017 was the year I first had that. I started to see signs of the emperor had no clothes a bit with this online world and the metrics we were following and the false gods, I call them, of success, and all these things we were chasing. There were diminishing returns at the end of this rainbow. And I felt like we were all chasing this stuff, and then kind of at a point that we're all looking at each other and going, what is this really about? Yeah, the money's great. We're helping people, no doubt. That part is awesome. That's the impact. But, where is this all going? You're like riding the wave and we're like, where is this going? And it's great because I see now so many people waking up and realizing this. So just a few of the things I wrote down that, I'm looking around and you're seeing some of these influencers, for lack of a better word, experts, people who've been in this game for a long time are suddenly, or subtly making shifts where they are dismantling like huge programs or empires that they created, that they're shifting to talking about meaning and spirituality and alignment with their business, that they're simplifying things. They're doing launches in a different way. They are focusing on building more of a legacy type brand versus a launch product brand, if you know what I'm talking about. And honestly, myself and a lot of my clients were early to this years ago. All right, I'm done with the bragging, but sometimes I just have to remind people, right, who's the OG. Many of you familiar with my story, but I'll just give you the cliff notes on this, is that I was an email expert for years. I taught e-zine and email newsletter marketing. That grew into the online success blueprint. That grew into events that were packed and we had so much fun and programs with thousands of people in them, and we have just hundreds and hundreds of success stories, and it just kinda came to a head where I was looking around though going, "Okay, now everyone else is starting to teach this stuff. Where is my personal lane? Where do I belong in all this?" And I remember just sitting with it and praying with it, but never making a move on it, never inching away from it. I dipped my toe maybe a little bit in some other topics or programs, but I kept thinking I needed to come back to where the evidence was. What am I here to do? And what makes us money? And what does my audience want now at this point? And you get caught in that cycle, and it's a bit of a trap because you are in that trap and it's your identity in that trap. So you've seen I've shut down Glambition Radio. That was a few years ago. I was the original girl boss, like in the early 2000s, and I moved through that very, very quickly, that kind of feeling, into more of a holistic approach, I would say. I started curating my rooms instead of going for maximum number of butts in seats. I started shifting what I was talking about, sharing what I was going through, focusing on more of a high-end market. As I was looking around, I'm like, okay, where am I untouchable right now? And at that point, it was working with the higher level leaders. There was no one else doing that and claiming that space and having the courage to also exclude the other followers that I had from now my personal work in the world. And that was a big journey for me too. We'll talk about that today. There was guilt in that. There was shame in that. There was grief in that of letting go of a lot of the audience who may have made you and helped you get to where you are. And over the years, in all the work that I've put into this, this is why I am told, though, my perspective holds such weight now, and that I can look at clients and situations and their models from many different perspectives, from someone who's run large programs, small programs, and worked with clients in almost every type of model that you can imagine and every type of transition you can imagine. I'm like, wow, this is my sweet spot. This is how I help women when they are in this point of transition. What they've built is likely still working. They've built an incredible reputation on that. They've built who they are. Their clients know them for who they are that way. Their family knows them for who they are. This is their identity. It's so strong. And then it is so hard to move away from this. It is so hard to step out of this for so many reasons. But what's so cool to witness right now is so many leaders coming to this realization, and they may have had the realization earlier, but now they're like, you see, they're doing it. They're making statements. They're talking to their followers. They're making changes in their business. They may even be admitting like, hey, this isn't working. I'm going to be honest, what I've been teaching has kind of run its course. We're going to change direction now. We're going to do something different. There's all of this to witness now. And to me, that's the really exciting thing. And if you've had an online business for a long time, you know that some reinvention is always required, right? You can't come out with the exact same thing over and over. There's always a little bit of like, okay, we got the newest thing, the coolest thing, but you are still so locked into that identity. I really relate this to a lot of what goes on in the music industry. And let me explain why. So if you follow my Instagram account, I share, I don't know what, my feed is full all the time of 70s, 80s, 90s music. And so I save all these clips and every day I'll share stuff. And now I'm seeing some really cool interviews with people who made the music and the artists who made the music, the producers. And so I'm fascinated with the creative process and how how long do they decide to take with this? How do these great ideas happen? When do they decide to do something totally different and take a chance and risk that, especially when their label may be pushing them to do more of the same because that is what worked? And of all the stories I can think of right now, it's actually Missy Elliott, which some of you, I hope you all know who she is. So she was like a big rapper in the 90s, right? Early 2000s. And I remember reading some interview with her. It was so refreshing because she was just saying, I'm so tired of rapping about the club. Like, she was like going to be 50 soon. She's like, we ain't going to the club, going to the club, dancing in the club, meet you at the club. She's like, how long Can I do this? And I can just imagine where she was. The labels are, you have to keep rapping about the club because it's what people are buying is music about the club. And she's evolved past then. It's been good to see. But I just love that example because I could just laugh. I think we could all relate to that. Like, how much longer do I have to keep talking about this specific thing or be this specific image or role model for people? So now we see this clear, recognizable, undeniable pattern emerging among so many leaders right now. And this is the exciting thing that I think for us to see. So let's break this down from the beginning, this concept of our identity and how this works and how this happens. And there is no guilt or shame in how we start. There is, I think sometimes we're embarrassed at the beginning of, maybe a certain image we want to portray. I was obsessed with success. I have been hustling since I was 14, working different jobs, trying anything. My 20s, there was one point I was working at a publishing company. I was teaching step aerobics. I was selling vitamins off my bicycle, and I was still trying to find other stuff to do. Like, where did I belong? And I think for many of us, when we finally find somewhere we belong, we push that. We push that to the limit. We're like, this must be who I am. It's working. I'm teaching some good stuff. People are following me. Let's go for this. I had so much fun with it. You may relate to this. Like you became the achiever. You became the expert. You became the leader, the strong one, the visible one, the one with all the answers, right? Maybe the person who always knows the latest thing that works. And now it's a terrible feeling if you're not quite sure what works, if that's what people were relying on you for, because right now it's a crazy time for that stuff. So we kind of get locked into this because of its success, right? The interesting thing to note now, so many of us have been doing personal work on like trauma bonds and healing our, wounds from our childhood and stuff. And a lot of this stuff relates, like our addiction to success for many of us was from craving love, was from craving worth. That was a big part of the value of who we felt we were as a person. And I just somewhere out of nowhere, like the last few years, everyone is tapping into this, and I think we are the generations to be healing all this stuff. It's so fascinating to link this to success and what we did and what we're still doing. And here's the thing I want to emphasize, especially after you've worked through the healing, you may look back and then almost be kind of ashamed of that identity that you had. Like, wow, I was so obsessed with success. I mean, I had an image of me with like money flying out of a computer and like with an excited face. And I just, this is what I was into. And for a while, I kind of felt guilty and almost ashamed of that. Like, oh God, I can't believe that that was me. And that's what I stood for. And but here's the thing, that identity was perfect for you and your followers at that time. So I want you to really let that go. And I'm getting emotional talking about this because it really was. Once I stepped on the other side of it, I had a hard time looking back at that. And what made me feel better though was realizing not only did that identity serve me at the time, it was there to help the thousands of people that I helped at that time. Like people created businesses because of me. People grew empires because of me. People went on to make huge difference in their lives, their families' lives, their children's lives. They impacted entire communities around them. The success stories from that time happened because of you and who you were at that time. So it's really important that you still love and bless that identity, and because that was part of your life for a big reason. Part two, though, is where you start to feel the misalignment and things may be working, they may be shifting, but you don't want to let go of what works. You've built the structure around you. You've built a bit of the cage and it's lovely. Things are working, but personally, you may be feeling like, okay, is this it? Or, what's next? But I can't really change things. That's where it starts getting a little bit painful because you may start feeling a little bit bored, creatively stifled, like, wow, this is all people know me for. I wish they kind of knew the whole me. And wow, I'm getting tired of this. Like rapping about the club, right? Missy Elliott. Like it's kind of like that, but she just still put on her sparkle pants or whatever she did and get out there and rap about the club. And you could tell though she was getting a little sick of it, right? This is that phase two part. And when you start having these feelings though, it's interpreted as a personal failure, like, oh, I'm not strong enough, like, or imposter syndrome or guilt that you got what you prayed for and everyone around you also is looking at you to maintain this identity for them. Like you're now feeding a team, their families. How dare you want to change something? So a lot of women during this phase, it's quiet. You are not sharing this with anyone. You're just sharing your latest win. You're sharing everything going on, and it's supposedly perfect. Part three is why women stay too long, and that is the old version of you is still extremely rewarded. There is an ROI externally and perhaps still a bit internally because you are appreciated for that role. You're given acknowledgement and love for that role. You are showered with affection for that role. It's where you are seen. It's where you are validated. It's where you are appreciated. It's where you have an audience. And so many of us stay there too long. I think also we fear if we make a move, we fear confusing people. Like, wait, what is she doing now? And is this going to mess with our brand? We don't want to disappoint our clients or our audience. We fear, I remember when I started to make some changes and really downsize, I wrestled with the fact that I was not going to be invited to some higher level circles because I would not have a big team anymore and the huge revenues. Even though reengineering my business was simpler, higher profit, less stress, I would still not be seen or welcomed the same way in those circles. I remember wrestling with that. And maybe that's something you're wrestling with as well. So the cage you've built for yourself is kind of staring you in the face. And you're starting to think now, okay, let me weigh what is worth this and what is not. Um, and also, a certain version of success can be incredibly hard to leave when the outside world and even your own clients or team still think you should be grateful for it. Yeah, that is painful. That is the emotional knife. And this is why so many women go through this alone and maybe not even move out of it. So part four is the quiet before the clarity. It's interesting because I started doing a lot of work on this process last year when I did my reinvention sessions over the summer. And by the way, I have a call coming up on June 16th. I'm going to be doing it again. It's a free Zoom. Please come join me. We're going to go through this whole process in more detail. And you can see if some of this is resonating with you today, just come to that. It's a free Zoom, June 16th, allybrown.com/reinvention. I'll put the note in the show notes. And the reason I'm doing this again is talking with so many women who are going through this still, or they're realizing now they are going through it and they're going through it completely alone. This is where the faith you will need is a complete non-negotiable. And faith is a funny word. We throw around the word faith. It's like on the mugs at Hobby Lobby. There's a lot of sayings about faith, but faith, it's truly now believing what you can't see. You are going to be at a stage where you do not have evidence for what you're stepping into. But behind you, you have years of evidence in who you were. This is the very, very tricky part where a lot of women especially stop and they do not evolve past this stage. It's a secret phase that I think we need to now bring out in the open. and just see this as part of the process. I'm going through my identity shift. Like, here I am, like I've built this thing and now I'm going through this. I think it should be exciting. It should be like a graduation. Like I'm graduated to identity number 3 and here we are. And you may be dealing with like a void feeling between that next identity though, if you don't know it. Uncertainty, um, no clue where to go, especially if you're like, well, I have to make some money here. This isn't about me just going to chase my dreams here. This has to be engineered. I'm paying the bills. I have employees. Like, how do we make this shift? You may even be processing grief because you are letting go of that old version of you. Anytime there is change, even for the better, and you know that's coming, there is going to be some remorse of letting go and saying goodbye to that old version of you. Being misunderstood and being okay with it. I know for me, there was a point I just said, you know what, this is between me and God. And that gave me so much peace. And I know there are still people today who will not understand some of the choices I made. Oh, she could have taken that business so far or she should have sold it to this company or blah, blah, blah. You know what? It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I did what I knew was right for me and especially for my family as I had my twins who are turning 13 tomorrow as I record this. Oh my gosh. I remember going through a phase that I just was tired of performing and performing certainty. And it was such a release to not have that obligation anymore and give myself permission to not know, to not see what's on the next page, but to start just feeling it, making notes on it. What do I want to move away from? What do I want to move toward? That's a great place to start. And I'm going to give you a few more exercises on the reinvention call on June 16th. And then part 5 is when you're ready, and sometimes you're not, but when you are ready to change the room that you are in. If you are in a room of people just saying, oh, pivot, I want you to run, I want you to exit, and I want you to find a community that understands how gut-wrenching this can feel and that knows how to hold the space for you and all of your unapologetic success while welcoming your vulnerability in really being called somewhere different. And when you are in a room like that, it is incredible. So pivoting is for performers. That's what I'm saying now. Pivoting is for performers. Looks polished on the surface, but it is not for the serious ones of us that are here to do our great work in the world. Like, you really need to work through this and determine your next chapter. So during this phase, I also urge you, the worst rooms you can be in, the worst rooms or programs or whatever it is, are where it's the bro down, scale up, big balls, my business is better than yours. You know what I'm talking about, right? There's a time and place for those. When you know your path and you're on track and you know your strategy and that plugs into it, go for it. But you know what those spaces do to you. And I remember this because I was in them. And I would go in there so sure of what was on my heart and what I needed to do and what my calling was. And I'm thinking, I'm just going to go pick up some ideas and then I'll go do the thing I really want to do. But I would leave affected by that energy. I would leave feeling competitive. I would leave feeling incomplete, like maybe I needed to just double this business before I exited it or reach a certain level to show them that I could reach that highest level of the program or the room or the other women I was sitting around who were doing, 20 million instead of 10 million. And like, well, why am I not doing 20 million? And you know what that does. Again, time and place for those places where you're ready to pedal to the metal, but where you're in this place of transition. This is exactly why I created Iconic. It's exactly why I'm talking about this so much more now, because you need to be in a room of women who get it. Either they've gone through it or they're going through it. But these are women leaders. These are women, many of them. I'll tell you right now at Iconic, for example, we're halfway sold out. Here's what's blowing my mind. This is the first event I've offered for a while for women who are, it just doesn't matter if you're over a million. You could be under a million also. That's fine. So it's pretty open. I'm looking for low six figures and, in the application, we can talk where you're at. But what's blowing my mind is 70% of the signups so far are women over a million. And these are not all women from the trust. There are many there, but not all of them. So the quality in that room is going to be incredible. The reason I started doing this event is there was nowhere to have these higher level conversations where you could admit stuff like this, where you could share, hey, I built this business. I love it. Here's where I'm craving. I'm kind of being called here. Here's where I'm going to let go. Here's what I'd love to do. Maybe I'm called toward a creative project. Maybe I want to blow this thing up and like drive away and start something new. We've had women talk about all kinds of stuff in there. And you will find accelerated clarity in rooms like that. You may not get all the answers, but you at least leave with the right questions. And more than half the pain of this is coming up with the right questions. I have so many success stories, though, and great examples of these women who have come into my rooms. And even if they did not get the big idea at that time, they came back later and told me, Allie, that event and my work with you was a foundational, they use that word, foundational part of my entry into my next chapter. And I think that just brings me the biggest joy of my career when I hear that. We have the event coming up in November. It's November 4th and 5th. It's iconicwithallybrown.com. Let me tell you about that for a minute. Because if you have gone to any other conference, it's hard to even describe what Iconic is. So it's a curated room of no more than I'd say about 60, 65 women. It's application only. It is a place where we look at things fresh. We put new frameworks on what we're doing to look at it different ways. We look at innovative thinking, creativity, looking at things full circle, looking at things with huge permission to make change if they don't fit who we are now. And also, we look at what's working and what's not working out there right now. And here's the great thing about a room like this. I do not have a sales agenda. I do not sell a program or a training that is linked to this. So if you're following what I'm saying, sometimes you'll join these things or you'll go to a room and the leader has to still keep proving that what she's teaching works. I am method agnostic. I sit back. We have everyone talk about what they're working on, what they're doing, all kinds of methods, all kinds of ways of growth and different ways of looking at things. And we're learning from each other. What's working, what's not working, best practices. When you get a room of proven, successful women like that, sharing that stuff, that is really, really powerful. There's so much I can tell you, but I want you to go to the page, iconicwithallybrown.com. We have the early bird pricing that is good for a few more weeks. You get $1,000 off. And if you have any questions, just drop a note. We'd be happy to talk with you. I would even be happy to respond to you if you have a question. Just write us, okay? But go do me a favor, look at that page first. And then if that doesn't answer your questions, reach out. We would love to talk with you, okay? Then I have the reinvention session. So that is going to be Tuesday, June 16th, online, free Zoom. Let's dive in together. Let's dive into more of this. I want you to go right now to allybrown.com/reinvention. Enter your name and email. We'll send you all the info to come join. Register, even if you can't make it live, register because we will send you the recording and the notes. I just think this is so critical for every woman to listen to right now. I will be walking through more of what we talked about today, but in greater detail with some specific exercises and recommendations for each stage, and then where to go from there. Let me give you a little sneak peek too. I am opening up some coaching spots this summer for what I call reinvention sessions. Even if you don't need reinvention, listen to this. It's a 2-hour Zoom package that is perfect if you're going through a transition and just want to bounce some ideas around. If you want a neutral sounding board, I have no agenda but your personal success. So I'll listen to everything, right? Bring to me what you're working on, where you're thinking of going, the challenges you're up against, maybe the opportunities. We'll give you a bit of homework before the first call together. I am all yours for those 2 sessions, and we will work through it together. I also do full day VIP days if you want more. And then I have some coaching spots opening up toward the fall if you're looking for long term. So I just want to let you know about that. Okay. If you're interested in any of those, just let us know. I'll put the link down there as well. Okay. I hope that no matter what you're going through right now, you realize you don't have to go through it alone. So many women do. And I would love to be a part of this process with you. So everything I talked about today, please, this is an open invitation. I would love to support you along the way. And if you can, share this episode. I think this will be helping a lot of people in this transition right now. Take care and God bless. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Subscribe now to the Reward Podcast to be sure to not miss an episode. And don't forget to visit jointhetrust.org to learn more about our modern community for forward-thinking 7- and 8-figure women entrepreneurs. You can learn more, apply to join us, or refer another woman you know who is over the $1 million mark and is ready for a different type of women's network. We have events coming up both live and online that are truly creating new possibilities for female leaders. That's jointhetrust.org. See you there.